Sam's Garage, presented by Hemsaw. On this episode of Sam's Garage, Sam and the Lokar team wrap up the Holley EFI and the 68 Chevelle. Sam and Doug continue working at Hemsaw headquarters on the new frame for the 57 Ford Thunderbird. The guys at Brothers Truck Parts have everything you would ever need for your classic truck. And Phil from Car Capsule stops by to show off one of the best ways to protect your vehicles from the elements. Travis and Kevin give Sam a hand wrapping up the Holley EFI system for the 68 Chevelle. They complete the wiring for the starter, fuel pump, and battery. As always, providing tips along the way. Once everything's connected, it'll be time to fire up this muscle car.
Travis and I are at the fun part of the build. That's the EFI system. We're using a Holley Terminator X because that's what you guys use at Lokar, right?
Yes, absolutely it is.
Now tell me about this engine program that you guys deliver to the people out there. You make this run on the stand before it ever leaves the building, right?
Yes, so we run every engine just to make sure that it's got oil pressure, make sure everything's good, there's no immediate leaks or anything like that. And we also, I run them with the coils and that computer with that harness. It takes a little more time, but we know it works when it leaves.
Yeah, everything matches just like it was,
right.
And you don't have to worry about much of tech support. It sounds like you guys don't have any problems in that department. Everybody gets it done at the end.
That's correct. We gear it kind of towards the car builders as well, because you don't have time to be fooling with programming this, that, and the other. So it's programmed to our pedal, ready to go.
That is awesome. So because we're going to be running a fly-by-wire electronic throttle body, we don't need the TPS sensor, the idle air control sensor, and the fuel pressure sensor. That's optional. You guys can add a sensor to it if you'd like. Because we're not using it, Travis is going to tuck it up underneath the intake manifold. And then that way, in the future, if a customer decides they want to change up anything, they haven't cut anything off, the connectors are there for them to add a mechanical throttle body. But it looks really nice when it's tucked up under there, and they can live there forever and never get hurt. Now we're going to go upstairs, do grounds, power, knock, and crank. All right, so now I'm going to be installing the knock sensor and the crank position sensor on the passenger side of the block. And as you can see, the header is right there. But what does Holley do? Straight from the factory, they put nice shielding tape over those two connectors along with the passenger side so that nothing gets burned by the header. You guys want to make sure to hear your confirmation clicks when you install them, and as you can see, everything is labeled. Now on the harness, Holley provides two grounds, similar to what the GM harness would have on the driver's side head. They want you to put an eyelet on each head. Very important you guys make sure the eyelets are clean, the surface on the head or block are completely clean, because the grounds on the Holley EFI are absolutely important. Those two is what makes the coils fire. Travis and I are at the tail end of the wiring portion of the EFI system. We've got the starter wire going on to the starter. Grounds are done. Travis is right now running the green wire from the Holley back to the fuel pump, and it's beautiful because it's already got a relay on it. So all you gotta do is run one wire back there, ground the other side of the fuel pump, and you're good to go there. Now, as far as the starter wire, I've got the starter signal wire in DEI loom because it's going by naked headers and we don't want anything to happen to that wire. I like to put a spade connector and a connection up under the hood so that if I ever have to diagnose the car and I need to crank it from under the hood because I'm by myself, it makes it a lot easier to service that way.
All right, we're to the point where we need to get the drive-by-wire pedal hooked up so that we can actually start this car, because it's not gonna like not seeing that signal. A useful tip is to find a small hole in the firewall to go through. Our plug is kind of big, and so we don't have to run a strange grommet. We're just gonna unpin this. It's really simple with these little tiny tools. We'll take the safety clip off, we'll push them out, we're gonna put it through and put it back together. Really critical that you get these in the correct order. So make sure you take a picture, it's the easiest way to remember, or write it down. That way when you get back in there, you don't have a mixed signal going to the computer.
Don't you just love installing the EFI, all these plugs and connectors, grounds and powers? It's so fun.
They make it so easy.
After the 100th time, it is.
That is so true, yes.
All right, so we got all the ground straps in, we've got everything clean where that needs to be. We've got our connections here with the battery ready to go. We're not gonna hook up the negative until we're ready to crank it. First, we're gonna put transmission fluid in, oil, put the drive shaft in so we got no leaks. Once it fires up, we're good to go after 15 seconds. Then we'll put coolant into the Champion cooling system and give it a good burp.
Sam's Garage, presented by Hemsaw. Doug's team at Hemsaw provides an overview of how they'll be designing the new frame for the 57 Thunderbird. Joe starts off by showing how the measurements are taken from the original frame and then transferred in the computer. Then Ron takes over by cutting all the steel sections at the correct angles.
This is the exciting day. This is where everything gets cut up and measured for us to be able to build a chassis. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into the shop, the saw shop, right?
Right.
And then Ron is gonna be cutting up all the metal that Joe is gonna design, and you're gonna help deburr and clean everything up so that next week we can start putting this thing together.
You know, Sam, the great thing about this, it's always me watching you, and for a change, you're gonna have to watch me.
It's very nice of you, because I'm really enjoying it.
I'm sure you are.
And Joe and Ron have been here forever with Hemsaw. He does most of the designs, whereas Ron is head of manufacturing. So Joe's gonna tell you exactly the steps he took to get us to what we're gonna be doing next week.
I've been tasked with the remanufacturing of this frame. We want a newer frame. It's gonna be a little bit lighter frame, but it should be very stout. It's gonna go with a Mustang 2 front end in it, but the process starts with this line, this string I've put here, and I've leveled this string to the frame, the main member right here, because this is the only straight part of this whole frame. Drawing this up in SolidWorks, which is a 3D modeling software, and it's precise. It's real as it is out here in the computer. And it doesn't, if you flaw in there, it'll be flawed out here. And it's a really good program.
All right, Doug and I are here with Ron, and he's gonna be cutting all the pieces out that Joe printed out for him for the frame. Tell us what you got here, Ron.
What we have here right now is 9 prints, and some of them are ×2 and some of them ×1. We're gonna do all the 90-degree cuts, and then we're gonna do the miter cut, and there's like 3 of them that has to have a compound. So we'll do that last. So we'll cut all the straight 90 degrees first.
That's cool, let's get started.
And when we're done, I'll deburr it.
Finally something for you to do.
I know. Tech tip for you guys at home, when you're building something like this, it's important to always use the same tape measures, because we have, Sam Hemme, thank you. We have these 2 tape measures, and we pulled one and we compared it against the other, and they're a 30-second off. But tape measures can vary as much as a 1/16 between 2. So it's real important. Start off with one, use that one all the way through. The other thing, if your material's sitting outside and it's 110 degrees and then you bring it into your shop and it's cool, remember, steel grows when it's hot, shrinks when it's cool.
All right, what we just did here, we did a miter cut. We angled it over to 50.4 degrees. And we've got a few more pieces that we're gonna change the angle on and do some more miter cutting.
Believe it or not, this pile is gonna turn into a frame. This is what it looks like before we actually weld and tack it together. And you know, you guys, to see you in your element doing what you did, starting from zero, the precision cuts, the grinding, the equipment, it was very impressive.
You know, Sam, the interesting part, what we really wanted to do was to show everybody at home, you know, if they have their own saw, they're gonna have to start with 90-degree cuts, and from there, they're gonna do their angle cuts. At Hemsaw, we actually do automatic equipment that'll do everything for you. You put your stick in, you program it, and it'll do it. But to watch Joe work his magic and everything that Ron did, you know, I did the hard part of deburring it. You know, so you got a big laugh out of that. But it was great. It's gonna really turn into something where we've got everything we need to build this frame.
That's absolutely right. Can't wait to see it come together next week. Today we're going to talk torque wrenches. I can't tell you how many times a torque wrench will get somebody in trouble because they're just following the rules. On a timing cover bolt or a valve cover bolt, those hardware is going to be small. So you don't want to use something big like this. You want to use an inch-pound torque wrench, of which a lot of people don't have. I like to use a torque wrench when building an engine. Cylinder heads, main cap bolts, flex plate bolts, or even a crankshaft pulley. Now your hardware determines what kind of clamping force you can put down onto them. 10mm bolt, you can easily use a 1/2 inch wrench or even a 3/8. 6mm bolt, you want to stick with a 1/4 inch, and the length of the tool also matters, depending on how much torque you're applying to that hardware. If you use a wrench that's too long, you're going to apply too much torque, the bolt will stretch and then snap on you. You can actually feel it when you're tightening down on the hardware. So if you guys don't want to ruin your day and don't want to deal with broken bolts, make sure you understand torque wrenches and when and where to use them.
Now back to more Sam's Garage on the Chevy C10 truck. Fortunately, the guys at Brothers Truck Parts have everything you would ever need for your classic truck.
Man, Greg's truck looks a little rough, but believe it or not, we're a lot closer than it looks. Now, Greg is a good friend of mine. He's a first responder. Back in 2004, I built him an 800 horsepower Civic. This is a whole new ball game for him. He's got a LSX engine that's going to be producing 1,800 horsepower, and he's already installed a full suspension and rear end to handle all that power. Now, the outside of the truck isn't bad. The inside needs a complete overhaul. The outside, you know, he's got a 4-inch cowl hood on it. He can live with the exterior for a little bit, but today's prices with labor shortage and backup on body shops, it's going to take a long time and cost a lot of money to get the exterior done. So for now, because you live inside the interior of your vehicle, we're going to do everything new on the inside. We're going to give it a new front fascia, a new rear bumper, and really spruce it up. I'll even level the truck before it leaves the shop. Now, I went to Brothers Truck Parts because they're your #1 source for 1947 to 87 GMC and Chevy truck restoration parts. I got everything we need to make the interior look brand new. Not only the big parts, but all the little parts that make it possible. The clips, the screws, the retainers, all that stuff you need to complete the interior. Now that I got everything apart, I'm ready to go back in with my new instrument cluster. The instrument cluster is going to have a brain. All the wires for the sending unit, the lights, the signal wires for the turn signals, the flashers, brakes, all that stuff is going to come from the main harness that used to go to the old cluster. So you will have to use something like a power probe so that once the truck has power, you can go through and probe exactly what wire needs to go to what slot on the brain. Now, if you want to do it real nice, you can take a connector, a 2-way Molex, male and female, and do all your wires on one end of the connector, and then the other end of the connector, go to the chassis and get rid of this plug using the wires that you need for your other connector. You can put this anywhere you want, and you'll have a sub harness making this completely serviceable at any time. What I'm doing here is hooking up a ground, a constant power, and switched ignition power. And this is going to power up the brain in order to get the lights and the sweep on the cluster itself. Then I'm going to screw this in with 2 self-tapping screws, and I'm going to use a drill bit and a drill. All right, so as you can see, I put the cluster's brain right there on the firewall. That way I've got good access to it. I can see everything. I can get to all my terminals, and it's protected, securely mounted in place, and we're good to go. So the factory comes with 4-inch speakers on the dash itself. The one I'm putting in from Brothers also does not have the cutouts because we're going to be putting speakers in the kick panels, and we already have speakers in the doors. So I went ahead and removed those speakers, and we're not going to be reusing them. You're going to transfer over the retaining clips, or you can buy new ones. All right, then on the bottom of the dashboard is going to be 4 holes that you're going to have to make, and there's going to be 4 receivers on the dash itself. So the good thing is that this one's right here. So we'll put that in there, we'll tighten it, we'll lock it. You know, that looks nice. Everything fit really well, except the bezel looks pretty crusty and old. Looks original. Now it's broken right here, the rest of it fits. So I'm going to call Brothers. I'm going to get me a new bezel that's going to really complement and fit finish off the instrument cluster. This area here with the new aluminum trim, that's going to need new vents. I didn't want to put the old crusty ones back in, so I'm going to get some from Brothers as well. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to call Lokar and get me a digital shift indicator. Didn't put that one back. And then I'm going to go ahead with the new door panels, and the trim along here is going to match the new trim on the dash, and this is going to start to look really nice.
Phil Pataki from Car Capsule stops by Sam's Garage to showcase one of their newest products. The new capsule is made of thicker material, looks like carbon fiber, and even has a slick road design on the inside. Not only does Car Capsule help protect your car, they also make capsules for your boat.
Today we're going to be talking storage, and I'm here with Phil Pataki from Car Capsule, and behind us is one of their newest items. Tell me about this.
This is our CF1 model. This is the carbon fiber edition. So we have a heavier duty carbon fiber look. It's not carbon fiber, but it has that texture and look. And it also includes our carbon fiber look floor with the road design, which is twice as thick as our original base mat. So it's a much stronger unit. Got just about every color, no matter what car you want, to accent it. And that's just it. You know, you come in from a bad day at work or the weather's really crappy, you pull in your garage, and there's your ride sitting in showroom condition with your cool lights, got a nice glow to it. Looks
And
cool.
a lot of it has to do with that fan you incorporate in the capsule,
Right.
correct?
The fan is always going to provide continuous airflow, continuous air change. So once we reach positive pressure in here, the air is leaking out the zippers. So as the environment changes positive or negative, we stay with that change and we never allow opposite air masses. The dew point. Condensation never condenses. So if you don't, humidity doesn't condense, you have no mold, mildew, rust, or corrosion. Again, the worst thing for your car is condensation coming from this floor. I already told you about the heavy floor.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter which floor you got of ours, water's not coming up from the concrete and rusting your car out. Time you notice water on your car, it's too late.
Yeah.
It's too late.
And a lot of people don't realize just how much moisture is actually in the concrete and wicks up through it.
And they don't realize, like, oh, I'm not gonna drive it, I'm gonna put that car away. Worst thing for it. At least in this, when you pull it out, it's the way you put it in, fire it up, drive it out, you're good to go.
Now, I know you said that you have a structure similar to this for the outdoor, and I can't wait to check that out.
Yeah, our outdoor one's stronger than this, and it's made for outside. It's made to be outdoors in the weather. So yeah, let's go check that out. It's
Absolutely,
pretty cool.
let's do it. You know, I've had my boat capsule now 3 years, and I'd love to store stuff in it when the boat's out of it. Like this trailer, for instance. This thing sits outside, and it's about 10 years old, but it looks like it's 20 years old.
Yeah, Mother Nature's taking its toll. It's rusting, the electric won't work, the brakes can get jammed up. Your boat in here is in perfect shape. When you take it out, you're good to go. You can put that in there, but you know, if there's something better.
Yeah, there's something better.
And really, we got the outdoor showcase where you can drive in and out and walk in and out, and it doesn't collapse. Let's go check that out.
Wow, you have to actually keep this thing up all the time?
Yeah, it stays up. You don't have to worry about it. It's like a garage.
Oh, that's so cool.
All our outdoors come with a Velcro flap because we want to protect the zipper from snow and ice and just direct weather, rain. When this is over with, the zipper can still ventilate, but then we don't have water protrusion or ice building up if you had to open it up in the winter. This model is our new arch design, 6 foot wall, 8 foot at the top. It's more subliminal in the yard.
Right.
And that's what our customers asked for, so that's what we gave them. Something a little shorter that accomplishes the goal. And the outdoor showcase does that. We preserve, protect the finest everything in here. No matter
Absolutely.
if it's a tractor, a car, your bikes, your ATVs, your lawnmower equipment, construction company, whatever you need to store temporary, store it in an outdoor showcase.
You know, the side-by-sides are getting so popular these days.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of
And they're
those.
the size of cars almost, you know what I mean? So this is a perfect place to be storing your side-by-sides.
Well, think about it. You go to a beach house or you're on a camping trip, you got an RV, blew up in less than 5 minutes.
That's true.
Rolled up the size
That's
of a
true.
sleeping
That's
bag.
perfect. Let's say you're going on a 1 week trip at an RV park. That's
Right.
perfect.
Yeah, solves the problem.
Yeah, it does. That's what you're about, solving problems when it comes to storage.